fondness of your love and adoration keeps me sane in this insane world, where we build a sanctuary of happiness. Astounding queen shit, while you lift my vibrations on some king shit. Tis a glorious, bewildering hit the mountains of reproductive space that traces back to awing, inspiring, calmness, universal pleasure of satisfaction. Clear conscious, composure, soothingness, soaring exuberance that keeps me effervescence and vivacity. I want the all in you. I want the best for you. Give me the greatness of me, so I can continue to crown your body with get the treasures of glory. Let me be your queen. Let me be your queen. You're my essence, teach me lessons. Start loading in circles, we in progression. Tip of the iceberg, got me melting. Got me melting. Outer body experience. Yeah. Sometimes my mind can see better than my eyes, where my body reacts to the matter of the heart, leaving myself trapped in a sudden boomerang. Emotions coming from all directions, seasons. I'm hot when your heat of devotion and loyalty is shown through your actions and summons me to your eyes. I'm cold when you hurt my spirit with lies and deceitfulness, which scrapes away my trust. I'm okay with when we fall back into place after pieces of us were broken and I cried spring tears. When I realized that these showers of thunderstorms didn't last for eternity, just for a season. And that, I know, that you gave me all of you, without leaving me left behind, wondering if this love is authentic, factual with stability. You gave me you, all of you. Tell me the truth, do I make you howl? My werewolf, skin soft as cotton, lips taste like chocolate. Gave me all of you, all of you. Tell me the truth, do I make you howl? My werewolf, skin so soft as cotton, lips taste like chocolate. Can I be you? Can I hold you? Console you? Can I jump inside of you? Can I release all control to you? My outer body experience. It could be.
Yeah, more M's. Yeah. You the type to throw the rock and hide your hand like hoes. If I throw the rock, I'ma put it in the air like Hov. I ain't got nothing to hide from my peers or foe. If I take it in stride, I'll all spill my soul. I let the mic smoke, my chain look like a damn light show. If you see an L in my name, must be a damn typo. From the hood, this part of Long Island ain't got no white folk. I took a straight path, walk straight path like a tightrope. I spent some nights broke, my stomach rumbling, that shit was humbling. A rush when I touch down with the bag, I ain't gon' fumble it. She like it when I stick a thumb in it, while I'm drumming it. She loving that, she wanna run it back, so play a run a lap. If I hit her with a honey pack, you ain't gon' get your honey back, ha ha. Getting money bags that make you wanna laugh, ha ha. Just don't get caught up and stuck in a honey trap, nada. In a Ramada, see you manana off the Zaza. Head up in the clouds like I skydive, so why lie? You ain't been as close to a fly guy. Bitch, you ain't never been. How you wanna be verified, you guys still living in debt. Fuck a blue check, you boys need a reality check. I eat the beat up, surprised that I ain't fat as a bitch. Okay, it dawned on me I'm burning calories when I flex. Fuck up, how these niggas mad at me cause I'm blessed. Ain't playing games with ya, I'ma call it out like a rep. It's a fatality like back, down, up, X. I can't back down, now I'm next. Been feeling like that nigga 2X since I was rocking a 2X. Crew neck, waves on spin to get your boo wet. For the continental breakfast in bed, she getting suplexed. Mini mansion Airbnb, feel like I'm Muhab. It's Russian roulette with a full clip when I do spit. Cut the middleman out the shit. I'm Frank Lucas, investing in some property. I'ma cop a duplex and rent it out. Just cop the Benz, that shit is tented out. I'm winning now. They want what I got, but ain't give me shit. Top of the top, she giving me top, she don't give me lip. I'm top notch in this shit. Mop with the drip. You gon' get all of the smoke like I'm hot boxing a whip. Call your thought, she hit quick and I hop, jump and a skip. And I stand up in that box like it's hopscotch in this bitch. They always see me lit from now to back then. So my chain gon' make them squint in any chain of events, nigga. Yeah, nigga. Yeah. New York, New York, New York, New York, New York, New York. It's what they want, right? It's what they want,
Can you hear me now? My bad, y'all. My bad. I'm just over here talking, reading the article and shiznit and nothing. Yeah, I was on mute. My bad. My bad. Thank you, Mo. So let's start the article over. A federal judge on Thursday said she would likely allow a lawsuit by a Massachusetts couple to move forward that seeks to hold eBay Inc. former CEO Devin Winnick and others responsible for a bizarre campaign the e-commerce company's employees carried out to harass and stalk them. When U.S. District Judge Patty Saris in Boston said she may narrow parts of the lawsuit David and Ina Steiner filed following the criminal prosecution of several ex-eBay employees, the case was unlikely to be dismissed in its entirety. The Steiners, a married couple from Natick, Massachusetts, who produced the newsletter E-Commerce Bites, sued eBay, top former executives, and others in 2021 over what they say was a relentless campaign by its employees to terrorize them. They sued after prosecutors in 2020 charged 7 former eBay workers who pled guilty to participating in an extensive harassment campaign a year earlier that involved sending the couple cockroaches, fly larvae, and a bloody Halloween pig mask. And note, they tried to send a pig fetus too, but the folk called them and said they couldn't send wet samples. Several eBay workers traveled from California to Natick to surveil the Steiners and try to install a GPS tracking device on their car, prosecutors have said. Prosecutors and the Steiners said the campaign began after Winnick, who deemed their newsletter critical of eBay, texted another executive in August 2019 that it was time to take her down, referring to Ina Steiner. Winnick, a former Thomson Reuters executive who stepped down as eBay's CEO in September 2019, was not charged, and his lawyer, Abby Lowell of Winston and Strawn, on Thursday argued it was improbable for his flippant text to have launched the scheme. People say things like that, meaning the phrases used all the time, especially senior people in companies, Lowell argued during a virtual hearing. It's not the same as saying I'm knowingly joining a conspiracy. But Saris questioned whether Winnick had taken a hear no evil, see no evil approach to his subordinates' actions. Is that not plausible that he basically launched a missile, she asked. Rosemary Scapaccio, the couple's lawyer, said Winnick, as CEO, knew the power of his words and what then happened. Saris scheduled a trial in the case for March 2025 and urged the parties to explore settlement. eBay, which has asked for the claims against the company to be narrowed, remains open to a deal, its lawyer said. eBay would like to reach an appropriate resolution with the Steiners, Jack Pirazzolo, a lawyer for eBay at Sidley Austin, said. So far, a mediation has not been successful, but we remain hopeful we can come to some resolution at some point. eBay has set aside $64 million to cover potential liability from the Steiners case, a potential related settlement with the U.S. Justice Department, and some other unrelated matters. And then it just goes on to give the case info, the lawyers, the case number, stuff like that. Shadow. So what I had did was I went and pulled the PACER documents. It was like $3, $3.50. So it totaled up to like $19 or some shit. I don't, something like that, like $19. But yeah, we're gonna stop screen sharing that one. I'm gonna show y'all this part so y'all know, because when you get the documents, y'all should remember from the Cardi B trial, when they get the documents, they download in a zip file or whatever, because it was like 900. I know one of them 93 pages, and you see your download will begin in a separate window. So now we go to the download itself, which once open is 3 PDF documents. So you can see it up at the top. So this was filed July 21st, 2021. And we just now hearing about it. Now, all of these names down here, these are the people that work for the company. I read another article, and it says when he said that he not only said that he wanted her eliminated or whatnot, he said something like he wanted her turned to ash. The majority of those people you see on the screen right now work for security for eBay. They bought a funeral wreath and had it delivered to the Steiner's house. All because they run e-commerce bites. And e-commerce bites is a website where sellers on eBay, Amazon, etc. can voice their complaints about what happened or whatever. So, yeah, no sense whatsoever. Now, this is the... Shoot, I forget which part this was called. But this is the first one. As you can see, the government, real simple, it says 1 PDF. The other one say 2, and the one after that say 3. Nothing exciting, nothing special. So eBay, a multinational Fortune 500 company, with a market value of over $47 billion, engaged in a systematic campaign to emotionally and psychologically torture Ina and David Steiner, the two-person team behind a small e-commerce trade publication, E-Commerce Bytes. eBay, along with Progressive Force Concepts, LLC, hereinafter PFC, engaged in a coordinated effort to intimidate, threaten to kill, torture, terrorize, stalk, and silence the Steiners in order to stifle their reporting on eBay. Ina and David Steiner, a married couple living in Natick, Massachusetts, operate E-Commerce Bytes, a trade publication where the Steiners report about various e-commerce companies, including eBay, in an effort to assist e-commerce sellers. The Steiners provide factually based reporting on the inner workings of various e-commerce companies to keep subscribers and readership for their trade publication, many of whom are eBay sellers up to date and informed. Defendant Devin Wenig, then Chief Executive Officer of eBay, and Defendant Stephen Weimer, then Senior VP and Chief Communications Officer of eBay, consistently tracked E-Commerce Bytes reporting and became increasingly enraged by what they perceived as Steiner's negative coverage of eBay and the upper echelons of the corporation. Now, one of the articles I read said that he got mad after he saw an article about his salary. So, yeah. eBay, through its chief executive leadership, sent a directive and it listed at least 7 members of the eBay security staff, defendants James Bow, David Harville, Brian Gilbert, Stephanie Pop, Stephanie Stockwell, Philip Cook, and Veronica Z, an eBay contractor employed by PFC, most of whom on information and belief directly or indirectly reported to eBay's head of security and operations to deal with the Steiners. Y'all still there? Everybody done got quiet. Defendants Wenig and Weimer provided the other defendants with carte blanche authority to terminate the reporting of the Steiners by whatever means necessary, with defendant Weimer expressing, "I want to see ashes as long as it takes, whatever it takes." Defendant Weimer promised the defendants he would embrace managing any bad fallout if the plan went south, further directing, "We need to stop her." All of the horrific, vicious, and sickening conduct that followed was committed by employees of eBay and PFC while acting in the scope of their employment under the authority of and for the benefit of eBay and PFC. The event that followed shocked the conscious and demonstrate the utter depths eBay would stoop to in order to take the Steiners down and end their reporting on eBay. Starting with an online intimidation campaign, the defendants taunted Ina Steiner using a phony Twitter handle, pretending to be an eBay seller, and directly threatened her to stop reporting on eBay. The online attacks continued to escalate into threatening and distributing package deliveries, which included live spiders, cockroaches, a bloody pig's mask, a funeral wreath, and a book entitled Grief Diaries, Surviving Loss of a Spouse, sent directly to David Steiner. These messages and deliveries often were accompanied by ominous, simultaneous Twitter messages such as, "Do I have your attention now? Cunt." Ugh. Real Silence of the Lamb-ish. Shockingly graphic and vulgar messages such as "You are sick mofos and everyone will know. You freaking..." Good grief. Paired with taunting emails and deliveries including pornography and Hustler barely legal magazines sent to the Steiners' neighbor's home in David Steiner's name to defame the Steiners and attempt to disgrace them and tarnish their reputation within their community. After several days of around-the-clock threatening and vulgar emails, hold on, let me see. Y'all say something in the chat because I don't know whether daggone restream stuff. Okay, Shadow just put some. Hey, Shadow. Y'all be killing me. I know some of y'all off listening to something, but put something in the chat every once in a while. Defendants Wenig and Weimer's henchmen, including defendants Bao, Harville, and Zay, traveled over 3,000 miles from California, right, to Natick, Massachusetts, to continue the conspiracy to intimidate, threaten, torture, terrorize, stalk, and silence the Steiners. No, this is the dude that was running eBay at the time. The defendants, including but not limited to defendants Zay and Harville, carrying out the orders of eBay senior executives, menacingly stalked and tailed the Steiners in a black van and other rental vehicles, repeatedly circling the block, tracking their every move and following David Steiner when he left the residence. The defendants even went as far as to attempt to break into the Steiner garage in order to install a GPS tracking device on their vehicle. The defendants, including but not limited to Bao, Harville, and Zay, had practiced installing a tracking device on a similar vehicle in California in an eBay parking lot for this specific purpose. Okay, that's what it is. No Y, it's EINER. Good grief. Simultaneously, the defendants who remained in California, including but not limited to defendants Pop, Stockwell, Cook, Gilbert, continued with the online threats and stalking, and their menacing skull avatar Twitter handle began publicly posting the Steiners' home address on Twitter along with threats to kill the Steiners. The defendants also posted the Steiners' address on Craigslist and other websites, inviting strangers to the Steiners' home for sex parties and advertising yard sales, announcing that would-be visitors should knock on the door at all hours because everything must go. Fearing for their lives, the Steiners installed surveillance cameras to monitor anyone approaching their home. The Steiners manned the surveillance footage at all hours of the day and night and stayed in separate bedrooms so that if any of the defendants broke into their home or attacked one of the Steiners, the other could escape and call for help. I didn't even think about everybody just because, look, I was sitting up there stuck looking at this shit for like 5 minutes before I caught on the first time. I was like, hold on, wait, what? Cyberstalking? Wait, what? The Steiners were paralyzed with fear. Their calls to the local police grew more frequent, which defendant Zay and Pop, at the direction of defendant Bao, monitored with a police scanner in an attempt to stay one step ahead of both the Steiners and any law enforcement. The defendants knew the panic and fear they were inflicting on the Steiners by carrying out defendant Wenig and Weimer's plan, which only fueled their fire. They praised one another that their work was accomplishing their goal of intimidating, threatening, torturing, terrorizing, stalking, and silencing the Steiners. The defendants callously joked that the Steiners were seeing ghosts, think everyone is following them, and they call the police every 10 minutes. And we know the targets have been impacted by this awe. Despite recognizing the mental and emotional anguish the defendants were inflicting, the defendants continued to persist with the conspiracy to intimidate, threaten, torture, terrorize, stalk, and silence the Steiners. Once the defendants realized that the Natick Police Department was investigating the conspiracy, the defendants plotted to destroy evidence, mislead the investigation, and divert attention away from eBay. Good God Almighty. Defendant Bao called a meeting and directed the others to delete all communications and evidence relating to the scheme. You know what? This has got to be the dumbest motherfucker alive. You work in security for fucking eBay and you don't know that they can retrieve all that shit? And the defendants persistently lied to investigators and fabricated evidence. Their cover-up attempts included efforts to create a fake dossier and a phony persons of interest file on the Steiners to make them appear crazy and ensure the defendants could deflect their own blame when interacting with law enforcement. Ultimately, defendants Cook, Gilbert, Pop, Stockwell, and Z pled guilty to an information in federal district court, District of Massachusetts. Hold on. And defendant Bow and Harville were indicted as a result of defendants' conspiracy to intimidate, threaten, torture, terrorize, stalk, and silence the Steiners, and for misleading and tampering with the investigation. I know the Z chick got house arrest. Defendant Weimer's employment was terminated by eBay, and Chief Executive Officer Defendant Wenig departed eBay with a $57 million severance package. So you stalked this woman and this man, and you stalked this woman and threatened her husband, and then you got a set 57. That's a hell of a golden parachute. I wish that motherfucker was made of real gold and you had to jump out of a real plane. At all times relevant to this complaint, the individually named defendants were acting in concert with one another as agents and employees of eBay and or PFC within the scope of their employment with the intent to benefit their employers in furtherance of eBay's direct command through Chief Executive Officer Defendant Wenig and Senior Vice President Chief Communications Officer Defendant Weimer to silence the Steiners, and their reporting and all actions taken were in furtherance of that goal. When defendants Bow, Harville, Gilbert, Cook, Pop, Stockwell, and others were carrying out the directives of Defendant Wenig and Weimer, all were acting within the scope of their employment with and for the benefit of eBay. Defendant Zay and other Jane and John Doe defendants were either employed by eBay or contracted by eBay through PFC in carrying out the directives of Defendant Wenig and Weimer. They were acting within the scope of their employment. eBay and PFC's conspiracy through its employees and contractors to intimidate. Good God, you know what? No, my mouth's dry already. We finna skip that from intimidate to stalk and silence the Steiners. We gonna skip that because I done said it about 4 or 5 times now. Was successful and harmful. As a natural and foreseeable consequence of defendants' coordinated efforts, defendants' conduct has had a devastating effect on the emotional and mental well-being of David and Ina Steiner, causing permanent harm. The unrelenting stream of threats to kill, disturbing deliveries, as well as the physical surveillance caused the Steiners to suffer from significant and continuing emotional distress, including but not limited to anxiety, panic attacks, persistent and debilitating concerns about their physical safety, habitual insomnia, embarrassment, humiliation, shame, and perpetual fear that they are being followed and tracked, all of which suffering continues now and will continue in the future. The conduct of the defendants has also defamed both Steiners' names within the community and online. The conspiracy also caused harm to e-commerce sites because the defendants' actions have had a chilling effect on e-commerce sites' ability to report on eBay, where the conspiracy has caused would-be sources and customers to avoid further dealings with the Steiners for fear that they will become eBay's next victims. Moreover, at the time of this conspiracy, the Steiners and e-commerce sites were the leading source of e-commerce information and data nationwide, but the conduct of eBay and PFC has had a stifling effect on their reporting, hampering current and future business growth. The Steiners bring this action to put an end to the defendants' conspiracy and the violation of their state and constitutional rights, including but not limited to freedom of speech and press, to ensure that such harassment does not again happen to them or any other journalist, to seek redress for the significant emotional, physical, and economic harm it has caused, and to seek to become whole again as a result of the damage to their business and reputation. The court has diversity jurisdiction over the subject matter of this action pursuant to 28 U.S.C. 1332, because plaintiffs and defendants are citizens of different states and the amount in controversy exceeds the sum or value of $75,000 exclusive of interest and costs. Plaintiffs David and Ina Steiner are both citizens of Massachusetts. On information and belief, defendants Winnick, Weimer, Bow, Harville, Gilbert, Pop, Stockwell, Z, and Cook are all citizens of California. eBay is incorporated in Delaware and its principal place of business is in California. PFC is incorporated in Nevada and its principal place of business is in Las Vegas, Nevada. The court also had jurisdiction over the subject matter of this action pursuant to 28 U.S.C. 1331, based on the federal claims asserted under the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act. No, it exceeds that amount, Cupcake. It doesn't say how much they're asking for, but it exceeds that amount, and eBay has $65 million set aside for this alone, just in case the Steiners want to settle. The court may exercise supplemental jurisdiction over plaintiffs' state law claims pursuant to 28 U.S.C. 1367. This court has personal jurisdiction over defendants pursuant to MGL 223A, 3A, and C because the defendants caused torturous injury in this Commonwealth by all acts committed outside of Massachusetts, where eBay regularly transacts business in Massachusetts, and the defendants caused torturous injury by acts in this Commonwealth. Defendants committed intentional torts purposefully directed at plaintiffs, residents of Massachusetts, with knowledge that their actions would harm and cause plaintiffs emotional and economic injury in their home state of Massachusetts. Venue is proper in the District Court of Massachusetts pursuing to 28 U.S.C. 1391 because a substantial part of the events and omissions giving rise to the claims occurred in Massachusetts. Right, Maximum. I'm like, what the heck? It's like, okay, if the daggone president didn't know no better, security didn't know no better, it ain't safe, it ain't safe, it ain't safe. Telling you, man. Plaintiffs Ina and David Steiner are citizens of Massachusetts, residing in Natick, Massachusetts, and own and operate Steiner's Associates, LLC. Steiner Associates, LLC is the publisher for E-Commerce Bytes, a leading trade publication for e-commerce information. Steiner Associates, LLC has a principal place of business in Natick, Massachusetts. Hold on, let me check something real quick. Excuse me. Defendant eBay Inc. is a Delaware corporation with its principal place of business in San Jose, California. eBay is a multinational e-commerce corporation that facilitates online sellers and buyers through its website. In 2020, eBay ranked 295th in the Fortune 500 with a market value of over $47 billion and over 13,000 employees worldwide. Defendant PFC is a limited liability company with its principal place of business in Las Vegas, Nevada. On information and belief, PFC has 5 separate companies operating under its umbrella, training in armed and unarmed self-defense, including firearm training, consulting services, and online store selling tactical products. You know who probably owned this shit? Remember that dude that was talking about disarming somebody with a gun and the whole internet roasting? He probably owned this shit. This is a shit show. This is a dumpster fire of epic proportions. Right, Cupcake. a CrossFit gym, and SkyPoint Concierge, a concierge firm that provides unique services. Upon information and belief, eBay hired PFC in December of 2018. PFC hired analysts for eBay and paid their salaries, including but not limited to Defendant Z and John and Jan Doe. Defendants Devin Wenig, eBay's former chief executive officer of eBay, upon information and belief, resides in Los Altos Hills, California, and holds a Juris Doctor from Columbia Law School. Defendant Wenig, he got a law degree? What's a Juris Doctor, Cupcake? Hey Google, what's a Juris Doctor? A doctor of jurisprudence or a doctor of law. This mofo is a doctor of law and told a security team that he wanted her gone all the way to ashes. You know what? Has the portal opened up yet? I'll volunteer to jump through that motherfucker. Defendant Devin Wenig. Oh, yeah, I already read that part. Defendant Wenig is admitted to the bar in New York and his membership is active. They need to take his law degree. Okay, I did not know that. The more you know. Defendant Steve Weimer, eBay's former senior vice president and chief communications officer of eBay, upon information and belief, resides in California. According to eBay, defendant Weimer oversaw company reputation. Defendants James Bow is an individual who, on information and belief, resides in both Utah and San Jose, California, is a citizen of California, and was eBay's senior director of safety and security in charge of its global security and resiliency business. Defendant Brian Gilbert, who on information and belief resides in San Jose, California, was senior manager of special operations for eBay's global security team. Defendant Gilbert was responsible for executive protection, special event security, and safety at eBay's North American offices. Defendant Gilbert is a former police captain in Santa Clara, California. So we got a former police captain, a dude with a law degree, and they decide to send out a security team to cyber stalk and regular stalk and harass a little old married couple in Massachusetts. Girl, because they didn't want them doing the articles about eBay. Oh, goodness. Defendant Stephanie Pop resides in San Jose, California. She served as senior manager of the Global Intelligence Center, which was an intelligence and analytics group within GSR that supported eBay's security operations. Defendant Stephanie Stockwell is an individual who, on information and belief, resides in Redwood City, California. She was an intelligence analyst for PFC until May 2019, when she was hired by eBay as a manager of the GIC. Defendant David Harville is an individual who, on information and belief, resides in Gilroy, California. He was the director of global resiliency at eBay. Defendant Philip Cook is an individual who, on information and belief, resides in San Jose, California. He was hired by eBay in April 2019 and supervised security operations at eBay offices in Europe and Asia. Defendant Cook worked for PFC from April 2018 through October 2018. Defendant Cook is a former police captain in Santa Clara, California. All of these people had jobs where they should have known better. On information and belief, defendant Cook was promoted by eBay in October of 2019 to director. Defendant Veronica Z is an individual who, on information and belief, resides in Santa Clara, California. Defendant Z was an eBay contractor who worked as an intelligence analyst in the GIC. Defendant PFC, upon information and belief, was paid by eBay during Defendant Z's employment to serve as her manager throughout her placement at eBay. Jane and John Doe defendants were employees of either eBay or PFC. Together, defendants Bow, Gilbert, Pop, Stockwell, Harville, Z, and Cook make up some of the members of the eBay security division, and on information and belief, the entire team was a direct report eBay's head of security and operations, who ultimately reported to Defendant Winnick. Defendant Weimer, on information and belief, was a direct report to Defendant Winnick. All defendants were responsible for the intimidation, threats, torture, terrorization, stalking, and silencing of the Steiners, acts that occurred. Hey, Marquise. It very well could be Marquise, but this is even. I mean, how do you, Lord? They thought they were so smart they was gonna get away with it. A whole group of smart ass dummies. Acts that occurred during the scope of their employment all took instructions directly and indirectly from senior management of eBay. The aiding and abetting and or the failure to intervene and or prevent the acts of eBay, its employees and contractors, including but not limited to defendants Winnick, Weimer, Bow, Harville, Cook, Gilbert, Pop, Stockwell, and Z, give rise to liability on the part of other Doe defendants. In 1999, the Steiners started a trade publication, Auction Bites, which later transformed into e-commerce bites, reporting on e-commerce companies to assist sellers in the very early days of internet commerce. From its beginnings, the trade publication was a key resource for sellers and buyers that sell items online on a number of platforms such as eBay and Amazon, and later Etsy and others. Plaintiff Einar Steiner serves as e-commerce bites reporter and editor. Plaintiff David Steiner, Einar's husband, is its publisher and is also a reporter for the trade publication. eBay has always been a frequent topic of reporting by e-commerce bites. As a result, it has been a crucial resource for eBay sellers since the inception of the online marketplace. The Steiners' reporting was instrumental in developing a cohesive resource for buyers and sellers of e-commerce goods with a stellar reputation of seller advocacy and information. Ina Steiner created the Twitter account handle e-commerce bites to promote her reporting and provided the email ina@ecommercebites.com to allow users of the trade publication a means by which to communicate with her. More than 50 eBay executives and employees subscribe to the e-commerce bites newsletters over the years, including high-level management and public relations personnel. While eBay was an advocate and collaborator in e-commerce bites beginning days, even inviting the Steiners to interview executive team members and other employees and contractors, eBay executives under a new tutelage with Defendant Winnick took issue with the Steiners' reporting of eBay and its upper management. Resistance to the site and its reporting began in May 2012 when eBay falsely accused and reported e-commerce bites as a phishing site. eBay later admitted its error and retracted its report. eBay employees also frequently used fake identities to post in the comments section below e-commerce bites news articles, but the IP addresses for the comments were associated with eBay. This action was in violation of e-commerce bites user agreement. Oftentimes, the comments were critical of the Steiners' e-commerce bites and attacked legitimate commenters and users of the website. In January of 2019, an outside investor, Elliott Management, a hedge fund known for its reputation in cutting costs and driving profits, bought a portion of eBay stock and sought changes within the company. Defendant Winnick, Weimer, and other executive leadership within eBay became increasingly concerned about declining market values, market sales, and any perceived negative news coverage. E-commerce bites was followed with interest by eBay executives, including Wendy Jones, eBay's head of security and operations, and eBay's public relations personnel. On or about January 2019, the executive leadership at eBay, including defendants Winnig and Weimer, expressed frustration with Ina Steiner's frequent reporting on eBay. Defendant Bao directed defendant Stockwell and later defendant Z to monitor the e-commerce bites newsletter post and instructed them to screenshot them and forward the post to Bao via WhatsApp, an encrypted messaging application on a real-time basis, day or night, any day of the week. This was done to keep executive leadership up to date on an immediate basis. We at 47, y'all. E-commerce bites allowed its readers the opportunity to leave comments below the articles. Oftentimes in articles relating to eBay, the anonymous comments were critical of eBay in general and of its executive leadership in particular. One commenter of the publication in particular, who was best known by his handle, Fido Master, expressed negative opinions regarding eBay. For example, on or about May 21st, 2019, plaintiff Ina Steiner reported that eBay had built on its campus an expensive replica of Walker's, a popular Manhattan bar, and noted that no expense had been spared. Fido Master tweeted a link to Ina Steiner's article and criticized defendant Winnig for undertaking such a lavish project while eBay was experiencing cost reductions, layoffs, and scrutiny by activist investors. With no evidence of a connection, senior members of eBay's security division, including defendants Bao, Harville, and Gilbert, wrongfully believed there was a relationship between the Steiners and Fido Master. In the spring of 2019, defendant Bao held a meeting with the other defendants and other members of GSR where he discussed sending a fake threatening letter to the Steiners with a post stamp making it appear as if the letter came from a disgruntled seller in Texas. Around the same time, executives, including defendant Winnig and Weimer, retained a consultant firm. The consultant firm produced a report, Next Steps, Alternative Digital Methods for Reducing Impact of Ina Steiner and David Steiner and E-Commerce Bites. The report outlined strategies that would drive the Steiners' articles lower in search engine results. Absent any evidence, the defendants, including but not limited to defendants about, you know what? This is like the most, what in the entire hell? I mean, seriously, come on. They did all of this just because these people gave the sellers on eBay a voice. What kind of, you know what? They done lost all touch with reality. Reality just poof, gone. Just no. You know, reading this mess is making me sleepy. Oh my gosh. Was that thunder I heard? I'm not sure. On or about June 8th, 2019, acting within the scope of his employment and in an effort to carry out eBay's directive and goal to intimidate, threaten, torture, terrorize, stalk, and silence the Steiners, defendant Gilbert, at defendant Bao's direction, flew cross-country from California to Boston and drove to the Steiners' home in Natick, Massachusetts, and scrawled the word Fido Master on their fence. Defendant Gilbert, acting within the scope of his employment and at the direction of defendant Bao, also began reconnaissance into the Steiners' lives, attending a yard sale at the Steiner home, falsely posing as a potential buyer to gain intelligence so that eBay could carry out their conspiracy to intimidate and all that other stuff and interfere with their First Amendment and Article 16 rights. As part of the conspiracy to silence e-commerce bias in the Steiner's reporting, excuse me, defendants Winnick, Reimer, Baugh, Harville, Gilbert, Cook, Pop, Stockwell, Z, and John and Jane Doe, all while acting within the scope of their employment with eBay and PFC, set a plan in motion to destroy the Steiner's business. The defendants' conspiracy to intimidate, threaten, and all that other stuff with the purpose to end their reporting about eBay was documented in emails and text messages, including in response to a text sent by defendant Winnick that linked to an article in which Ina Steiner observed that defendant Winnick's $18 million compensation was 152 times that of an average eBay employee. Defendant Weimer wrote, "We are going to crush this lady." When discussing the Wall Street Journal coverage on eBay, defendant Winnick text to defendant Weimer, "Fuck them." The Journal is next on the list after Ina Steiner. Defendant Weimer texted to defendant Bao, "Ina is out with a hot piece on the litigation between eBay and Amazon. If we are ever going to take her down, now is the time." When defendant Weimer noted an article by Ina Steiner where she indicated defendant Winnick promised to give sellers greater protection was shockingly reasonable. Defendant Winnick responded, "Take her down." When defendant Weimer noted an article by Ina Steiner where she indicated defendant Winnick promised to give sellers greater protection was shockingly reasonable, defendant Winnick responded, "Take her down." In a text exchange between defendants Weimer and Bao, defendant Bao stated, "Devin Winnick said to burn her to the ground, correct?" And defendant Weimer responded, "Ina Steiner is a biased troll who needs to get burned down. I want to see ashes as long as it takes, whatever it takes." So hold on, they got text messages and emails too. So I'm not understanding why the president wasn't arrested as well in the first place. The people that was doing the footwork was arrested, but the people that was actually, throwing the orders and shit wasn't. Cause I mean, ain't no way in hell did eBay pay for their plane tickets. eBay pay for them rental cars. Shabo. Yo, all of a sudden I'm like mad sleepy. I'm not lying. Oh, did I take my meds? Let me check on Eugene before I get off of here. We gonna keep going. Look, it's 3 of these PDF documents, and we only on page 15 to 93 of the first one. So we gonna keep going with these. I mean, does that sound good to everybody? Cause this is really messed up and kind of interesting. As for Eugene, he ain't put up shit today or yesterday, really. And no changes to the county clerk website. Oh, he did put up one little video, but it's just him at the gym trying to get swole. That's what I'm saying, Cupcake. Hey, Buccaneer. Yeah, I saw that too. Well, look, y'all, I don't know what's wrong with me, but something just slapped me with the itis. So I'm going to take a nap because my eyelids about to close themselves. So before I be up here drooling on live, I would... This is TripCTreehouse where it's always swinging, and we're out.